I am fantasy and paranormal romance author Leslye Penelope, and welcome to My Imaginary Friends, a look behind the scenes of an author mapping the worlds in my head and making them a reality. Hello, friends! Today is Saturday, December 14th, 2024, and this is episode 248 of My Imaginary Friends. I'm Leslye. I am recording live on YouTube, and I'm still here. Just as a reminder, you can always sign up for the Footnotes newsletter, which I do update more than I do the podcast to a degree. And it includes the show notes for the episodes of the podcast, as well as inspiration, strategies, and ideas to help you grow as a writer. That is at myimaginaryfriends.net/footnotes. When you sign up, you can choose to become an imaginary best friend for a few dollars a month and get access to premium posts, discounts on my courses and coaching, and more to come. So, yes, we are at the end of the year. It's been a minute since I have podcasted. I have come off of a very difficult, trying, overbooked few months, full of travel, full of events. They were all lovely, as I knew they would be. But yeah, having to recover from that was a lot. But I have been wanting to podcast for a while and just never actually doing it. But I was recording a video earlier that I will tell you about momentarily, and I had my makeup done. I was like, why waste a full face of makeup? Which for me is still like, if my makeup takes more than 6 minutes to do, it's just not going to happen. But I did take those 6 minutes, and my hair came out great too. I'm going to do a brief hair aside. I know that is not why you all are here, but if you were on the video, my hair's looking great today. I have been on a hair journey. My hair is natural, and because of my wrists, like I used to twist my hair myself, but because of my wrists and my nerve issues, that became more difficult. So I've been going to get it done. There's a salon in Maryland, in Silver Spring, Maryland, that I've been going to, and they're fine. They're really good. They do a good job, but they recently raised their prices a lot. So I was like, oh, what am I going to do? Am I going to shave my head? Am I going to try to just do my hair myself? Which it never looks as good as when someone else does it. And then on Instagram, I discovered that many JCPenney salons do natural hair, black hair. And I looked it up, and my local salon does black hair. Now, my father told me you could either have something done fast, cheap, or right. You only get two of those things. If it is fast and cheap, it is often not right. If it is right and cheap, it is not fast. And that is the JCPenney hair salon. So to wrap up this brief hair aside, one of the two of those three things are often true. I get my hair done at the JCPenney hair salon. However, today is a good hair day. I'm really enjoying it, and thank you for coming along with me on my journey. It's an ongoing hair journey, and we'll see what happens next. Okay, this week's best thing. I did start writing my new book. My tentative title is now December 32nd. Really finding a lot of energy with that title. And I started writing it this past Wednesday. So I've done 3 writing days. And yeah, so to get to this point, I had to do my revision planning. So I finished the first draft. I think I had a podcast about that. And I took a couple of weeks off after finishing the first draft. And then, let's see. I went through my revision process, which I document in this short workshop on revising your novel. I've done it at different conferences. If you're interested in it, I will link to it after the show is over. It's on myimaginaryfriends.net. And so, yeah, I went through my revision process, which includes reading through the manuscript, creating a story grid. I tend to do this by hand. So I was out of town for part of this. I went to, I went a lot of places, but I did it in a notebook. So if you were, let's see, on the video, I did this by hand in a notebook. Basically, I just draw a grid. I make a spreadsheet by hand, and I was tracking scene number, the POV, what happened, goal, conflict, the turning point, the day and time, and then notes about the revision. So I was tracking that on my handwritten spreadsheet. I was also making notes in the notebook as I went along. So I went through the book that I had written, the draft that I had written, and then I started trying to take these pieces and then put it back together again. So I had this portable box of index cards that I'd take around with me. And I had some index cards for this book, but what I was really doing was I had the themes written on a couple of colors. I have my index cards that are color coded. So the themes for this book, okay, so let me first of all give you the pitch. December 32nd is a book where a young woman in 1995 sees her twin sister hustled into the back of a sedan and driven away. She disappears, and the next day or sometime soon, no one remembers her twin sister even existed. So she has to go on a journey to discover what happened to her sister. The bulk of the book takes place in 1999. It is sort of I'm calling it a paranormal thriller, which is what I'm trying to write, and we'll see what happens at the end. But she discovers a world of people with powers, and she herself might finding her sister might actually cause the destruction of the world. I'm going to tighten up the pitch. So I've got these themes. Social disconnectedness is a theme, chaos, order, and balance, the fear of technology, and sacrifice. Those are the main themes. So I kind of lay these cards out in front of me. And then as I was revising, I was making notes of new scenes. I was sort of telling myself the story, trying to organize what I had versus what I wanted, and then coming up with a new synopsis. So I have now, after going through this process of like 3D chess, where holding the whole story in my head, taking the parts that I want to keep, figuring out what's missing, how do I tell this story the best way? I'm doing multiple timelines, a couple of different perspectives, working in the themes, still trying to make it an engaging, exciting story, figuring out the magic system, doing research on the historical aspects, because we're going between the 60s. There's a part of it that takes place during the Vietnam War, 1995, 1999. And so I created this brand new synopsis, very detailed. I think it's the most detailed, longest synopsis that I've done in terms of creating a synopsis that I'm going to be using to do the next draft with. I put it in its own folder, and it's 22 pages long. It is about 7,500 words. And so I have each scene in its own paragraph. I have the date, I have who is the POV character, and then basically what happens. The next step I did after revising this long synopsis was break each scene down into a spreadsheet. I made a new spreadsheet on the computer this time. And I was tracking certain things because I wanted to be able to create a schedule. Part of my process for revision includes creating a revision schedule. And so I'm just looking at the spreadsheet now. So I was basically tracking the scene number, the title, because I kind of just give little shorthand names for each scene. And then I was doing this in Scrivener. So I made each, if you're familiar with the program Scrivener, each scene is like a card. You can do virtual cards that correspond with each scene. And then you can create metadata for that. So I laid out all the scenes in Scrivener, then I can export that into a spreadsheet. So it's got a title, the timeline. I'm using the labeling feature of Scrivener to show if this is 99, 95, or the 60s. And then the status of it. The status is really important for scheduling the revision. And I was picking between 3 different statuses. So does the scene need major work? Does it need normal work? Or is it a brand new scene? And then I had another column for who was speaking, the actual POV character. And so I put that I exported my Scrivener into the spreadsheet, and then I did this really cool, this template in Google Sheets that I'm hoping to record a video on and share it. It is a little bit complicated, but it helped me so much. Where in my revision workshop, I talk about trying to figure out how long each scene is going to take to actually revise so that you can create a schedule. And that's why I have those statuses. So a new scene is going to take longer than a scene that needs major work, which takes longer than a scene that needs normal work. And those are the three categories I'm dealing with. And so I assigned values to those. I calculated about how many scenes do I think I can do a day based on my previous productivity in other novels, other revisions. And then I looked at how many days I have, worked backwards, created my schedule. So very proud of myself figuring out certain formulas in Google Sheets to do this automatically, which then led into this decision matrix, which I will tell you about in a minute. So I started the revision Wednesday, wrote Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've decided I need to be writing 5 to 6 days per week in order to get this done when I want to get it done by. And that's where we are. The first 3 days are already way slower than I wanted. But it's the beginning of the book. It's finding the tone, finding the new voice. I'm changing the way I'm telling the story from the first draft in terms of the narrative voice. I'm writing in third person present tense, which I don't think I've ever done before. And at least for the 1999 sections, I think I'm going to do what I'm feeling is doing third person present for those portions, doing third person past for the 1995 portions. And then the parts that take place in the 60s are going to be first person from that character's perspective. That's the plan as of now, as of 3 days in. And yeah, that first chapter took me 3 days to write. And I think it's going to change a little bit more. But obviously, the beginning of the book is so important. You have to hook your reader. And I don't feel like I've gotten that hook yet. So doing all of the work to create the schedule gives me a plan. Now, the plan generally falls apart at some point. But having done the plan, I at least have an idea. And I had a really aggressive goal for finishing this revision in 12 weeks. I have more time before the deadline, but which I actually will probably almost definitely need. But we've only been writing for 3 days. So that is how that is going. The other thing I wanted to talk about was my planning for 2025. So I've been taking this entire month to sort of slowly plan my projects, my goals, tasks for 2025. I don't want to be in a position like I was this year where I was completely overwhelmed and just always feeling like I was digging myself out of a hole. And that was because of events and commitments that I made for my writing business, and also taking on too many projects and having several projects in my website development business just go off the rails and way over time, over budget. Like there was more than one thing that happened. And, I've been making websites for over 20 years. Things sometimes, spiral. The client's needs change or they don't know what they want initially, but to have two things at the same time going so wildly out of control just added on to the stress. So now that I'm on the other side of that, I'm really trying to breathe, just really enjoy not being stressed out and try to figure out how I can not ever be in that position again. To that end, I am trying to plan my 2025. I've created a decision matrix that I'm very excited about. So actually, before I started recording this podcast, I recorded a video that should be coming out on Monday, December 16th. And it's all about this decision matrix that I made. I have a template. I'm very proud of myself. There are formulas in it. There are buttons that took me a while to figure out, but it's great. Essentially, it's weighted. So you create some criteria that you're going to use to make your decisions, like what are your values, what's important to you, and then you run each potential thing that you want to do through the matrix. You add it onto this spreadsheet and you score it, and then hopefully you will figure out the things that you want to do. Hey, Esty, how are you? Make friends with the like button. Thank you. So I'm really excited about my planning for 2025. And I'm still using a couple of different tools. So I realized recently that a problem that I have is being overwhelmed, like visually overwhelmed by planning tools, software, things like that. And so I'm trying to figure out a way to not be so overwhelmed. SD has one more day before a month-long vacation. I am super jealous of a month-long vacation. Like, please, yes, vacation for all of us. Um, I would love that. I actually was on vacation a couple of weeks ago briefly, but it was like a 4-day vacation. So SD says tools overwhelm me too. Yes, and I'm in the same place. I've tried many different project management tools, and I don't stick with them either. I was using ClickUp and I had it highly customized, and it was great for like maybe a couple of years, and then all of a sudden it was overwhelming. I was using Todoist and paying for that actually, and then it was like at a certain point, and I don't know what that point is. I think it's when I fill it up so much and I see all the tasks there like staring me in the face. It's like, I can't do all of these things. I'm just going to never open this program again and pretend like those things don't exist. And that is not a healthy way to deal with it. Or maybe it is. Maybe it's like saving me from the stress, but it's not a good way to like consistently get your work done. So right now I'm back to Trello. I used Trello 10 or 15 years ago. It's simple Kanban boards. Um, and I'm separating everything out. Hold on, there is a cat on the desk. I'm cat sitting, and this is Mila, and she likes to climb on the desk, whereas my cats, do not climb on the desk. Say hi, Mila. All right, you cannot be right on the desk. Sorry, baby. So I found that splitting into multiple Trello boards for each part of like each business. I have 2 different businesses, web and writing, and then my personal stuff, and then another one for my ideas for 2025. I just have them in different tabs, and that's starting to help. So SD says I cut down to writing in a notebook 3 things to do every day. That, yeah, limiting, I have my planner which highlights, these are the top 3 things I can do. And I'm the same way. I can do about 3 real things a day before I start getting like 3 big things or more little things maybe. But reducing that visual overwhelm has so far been helpful using the Kanban boards. And I found someone on, I think it was on YouTube, who was showing how they use Trello for project management, because Trello is a very simple tool. It's just lists. If you think of columns of lists, but also a thing that has started to help is if I add images to each card, you can see fewer cards if you have images, because the image takes up space and they're vertically, the lists go vertical. And it's also just prettier. So that has started to help. If you just have like a list with a bunch of cards in them, I'm still like, but if I have a list and it might have a bunch of cards, but I can't see them all at the same time, and there are pretty pictures attached, it is like a psychological trick that I found so far to be helpful. And so for the free version of Trello, you can add images to your cards. It hooks up to Unsplash, so you can just search for a cool image, or you can upload your own. And yeah, it's helpful, I found. So, and also splitting up the lists. And so then I have, one for my website business and the web projects. And then I have this sort of just personal tasks, things that I have to accomplish, and my business, my writing business. And then each board is organized a little bit differently depending on the type of business that it is. Working really well so far. For my 2025 planning, I've split the Trello list into things that are quick wins. So there are some items on my to-do list that really won't take me very long to accomplish. Like I can do them in maybe a weekend, maybe a few hours, maybe 1 or 2 days, quick wins. Those are in one list. I have sort of medium timeline things that might take me a few months to do, or more research, there's more steps to them. And then I have like a longer timeline list. That also has been helpful. So like I said, my video on the decision matrix will be coming out on Monday, and hopefully we'll check that out. It also has been super helpful in making me feel Like I am making decisions that have a reason behind them. Sometimes I'm just doing things out of guilt or out of like, oh, I should do this. I have this nebulous notion of things I should be doing. And that can be good, but also can cause unnecessary stress and have you just doing a bunch of things, spinning your wheels without knowing why. So really planning it out is what I'm trying to do for the upcoming year. Writing wise, my writing projects are also on my list. So the book I'm working on right now, Kat is coming back. We'll see. We'll see if she makes it. All right, Mila, you are. Come on, you cannot be on the desk, sweetie. It's the return of the kitty. She's only 2, and she is used to being able to climb up on whatever desks and tables she wants to. So, no shade. Okay, so the book I'm writing right now is December 32nd. I'm also working on, will be working on a romantasy novella as part of a shared world, which I'm sure I'll be talking about more, and that's going to be coming out in May. December 32nd is going to be traditionally published sometime in 2026, if all goes well. I think she might be hungry. Oh, it's not dinner time, but cats always thinking it's dinner time when it's not dinner time. I also want to pitch. I'm going to be working on a witch book that I have to plot, and then I want to pitch it to a publisher. And I have a potential possible another indie project that may or may not. I don't know that I would have time for it based on like how my writing schedule works generally. If I'm doing sort of the stuff, the other 3 projects are going to take up most of the year, I think, but I'm leaving it open. Hi, Mila. The other thing I wanted to mention, let's see. There's a buzz phrase going around, 25 and 25. I would like to hear more about that. Some writers want to complete 25 works in 2025. Okay, yeah, unless they were flash fiction, good luck. Best of luck to the people doing that. That is not something that is going to be part of my personal ministry. That's actually terrifying. Okay, 25 goals, SD says. I think I'll be 25 goals. That sounds more reasonable. I'm hoping Mila doesn't hit a button that will cancel this whole stream. Hi, Princess. Princess says, can the Decision Matrix video be used to help choose a story idea or choose what ideas to focus on next year? Absolutely. Yeah, you can change the criteria or create different matrices for different things that you want to do. So yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. I'm actually using it. She is super into, for those of you who are audio only, Mila, the cat that I am cat sitting, is just really interested in being on camera. She is a little star. She's just hopping up here, and she may or may not hop on the keyboard. So we're trying to keep that reasonable. But the great thing about a decision matrix is you get to choose all the criteria, and you can use it for whatever you want. So hopefully, yeah, it'll help to, if you have different story ideas, you just have to figure out the criteria you're going to use to judge them. And so that's going to be some of that is in your gut, my criteria for choosing what I'm going to work on next is energy, excitement, but it's also marketability. Is this to market? Is it not? And you get to choose which one of those criteria is really going to be the most important to you, or how you're going to weight those different criteria. So absolutely. SD says, I always break my goals into the ways of the author. W for writing, A for authoring, Y, YouTubing, and S, self-care. So she's breaking her goals into 25 goals into those categories. That's super smart. I like that. So those are basically your 4 categories. So if you were going to put those into a matrix, you might, mine is weighted. So I'm going to do the video on a weighted matrix. And so if you have those 4 sections, writing, authoring, YouTubing, self-care, then maybe they're all the same weight, or maybe at some point in time, writing is a little more heavily weighted than self-care, or the opposite. Yeah. So hopefully I'll edit this evening and post it up for y'all. But that is what I am doing. I also wanted to highlight as I'm recording this past Friday, then the latest issue, the latest episode of the Ink and Magic podcast, my other podcast with my friend Ines Johnson, dropped, and that is on masterminds. And she and I and our friend Cerise Renee Murphy, we are all on this episode showing you how our writing mastermind works. We've been meeting just about every week for like 10-ish years. And we thought we'd share how the writing mastermind works in case you want to create your own. It's been really helpful. So I will link to that in the show notes when I create them, and I would recommend that episode as well. That is basically it for me for now. My goals for the coming week are to write as much as possible and really get a feel for the pace of this book that I'm working on, my current manuscript. I was hoping that I would get like 2 scenes a day done. That was my plan. And I think I can once my engine gets really warmed up. I've been warming up this past week. And I think once I feel more confident about the voice and about the opening chapters of this novel, I will be a little faster. And I don't want to necessarily be too like obsessed with the speed. It's important to meet my deadline, but I've given myself so much extra time. I was really trying to get it done early so that my agent can look at it and then I could do another pass. And if that can't happen, then, it's fine. That was an optional thing. It was like a nice to have. But yeah, I'm after the first week, I'm a little nervous how slow it's going, but I do know from experience that it generally tends to speed up. And yeah, that's all it for me. I hope that you have a wonderful week, a wonderful vacation, wonderful holiday season. We're coming up on episode 250, and so I don't know that I can promise anything actually special for 250 or when that may occur. I'm hoping to get on a more regular schedule, and hopefully my Ascended Matrix will help me do that. So until the next time, I hope that you're having a wonderful holiday and the end of your year is great. And I will talk to you next time. For episode show notes and to sign up for the Footnotes newsletter and get the show notes in your inbox, go to myimaginaryfriends.net. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Watch the video episodes on YouTube. Subscribe, like, comment if you have anything to say. I would love to hear from you. And I would appreciate a rating or review on the podcast to help support the show. Take care.